India. You will forever be the first country to open my eyes to a world so colorful. I thought that I'd seen a lot. I thought that I'd been around and I knew a lot, and now I know that my vision was monochrome, and it very much is still. But India was the first country to show me that every place that I've been, it just made me realize every country that I've been to has either been majority white or majority black. And it really opened my eyes to a new world. And you know that the world's not all black and white, but these things don't click in your head for real until you go, which is why I love travel. The first time that I traveled out of the country was the first time it clicked in my head, like, whoa, this world is bigger than my own world. I've been living in a bubble this whole time, and every new experience I get, like going to India, just makes me realize, oh shit, I was still in a bubble. I've traveled a lot, but I'm still in a bubble. So it just it just grows that fire inside of me to travel more, and India is no exception. Well, India is beautiful, hectic, historical, and electric. It's a place that when you visit, it demands your full attention, undivided, and you really have to dive into the culture, like, and immerse yourself. There's no tiptoeing around this one. You have to dive in. Overall, India got 4 out of 5 Fros in the Fro rating scale, and that's really good. So if you want to know why, let's go. So my mindset regarding India changed multiple times throughout the trip. I had an idea of India before I went, leading up to the trip. That was completely shattered as soon as I arrived, and I had a new thought about India. Very hectic and overwhelming one, especially on arrival. And by the end of it, we've been through some things, me and India. I felt like I knew India a lot better than most countries that I visited in the last year. So by the time I left, I was like, I'm definitely coming back here. There's so much more to see. I've only scratched the surface. The major mindfuck was that, like I said before, I'd never been to a country that's not majority white or black. I didn't realize until I went to India, just looked around for the first time, and it's funny, like my whole life, most of us, especially from America, we've identified people of European descent as white, people of African descent as black, and it still feels weird now to like even say brown, like just to call people from India brown, even though they say, they call themselves brown, and a lot of people do. It feels weird to say it, and it just made me, it just reminded me that race is such a dumb thing. The fact that we put so many people in a box just based on the color of their skin. Being in India, it also made me realize, like, they have their own racial hierarchy. It's not about black and white, but it is about skin color and it's about class, which it is in a lot of countries. So, we all, especially us in the Western world, we usually forget that other countries have their own subsystems, their own racial hierarchies. So there hasn't been a more unique travel experience for me over being black in India. I mean, the most major recurring theme of it was the stares. Like, people stared so hard. But as a disclaimer, I was traveling with 2 Polish white girls, and I know a lot of the stares were for them. A lot of them were for the whole group, just because you probably look like an odd couple in India. But I could also see the differences in how people looked at me versus how they looked at them throughout the trip. Also, man, pretty cool. At some point, like, it's cool, but not. It got old pretty quickly that people really wanted to take pictures with us, like selfies. At first it was like, come on, man, I just want to enjoy the trip, and felt pretty uncomfortable or annoyed at sometimes, because sometimes you just want to enjoy what you're doing. But at some point, I started feeling like the man. I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. People, I'm a superstar. But, people are just like, yeah, I haven't seen you before, so let's take a picture. When we first arrived, like getting out of the airport, it's obvious, like, you're not from here. So they once we got out of the airport, we had actually called an Uber. And yeah, it just wasn't showing up. I don't know. Like the app said he was coming, but he never came. Looked like he was always on the way. But as soon as we got out, there were a couple like taxi drivers, and they're pretty pushy. Like they come up on you just like, hey, where you going? I'm like, we got a ride actually coming, which wasn't a lot, but still, like they didn't care. It's like, but where are you going? Like I got you. I'll take you. And then, all of a sudden, I just, like, there's like 5 different drivers just around us, just walking. We're trying to walk away, and they're like walking with us, like, just tell me where you're going, tell me where you're going. And, I'm just not used to people being so pushy. In different places, you tell them no, they go away. But what I learned in India, like, if you're super direct, then they do understand. But, they're all salesmen. Everybody's trying to make some money. So any hesitation looks like a yes. Like for a salesman, when they see you hesitate at all, they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna say yes, so I'm just gonna keep going. So there's definitely distinct shit that happens to you when you're black in India. There was one time, and we were in line for the Red Fort, a very popular tourist historic site in New Delhi. And we're in line in the tourist line. There's a local line right next to us, like a little bar in between us. And I'm just noticing this group of like three Indian dudes in the local line, pretty young, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 18, 19, if that. And they were all just staring, like, they're just like, there's no subtlety to their stares either. They literally just like, when they're talking to each other, they're still staring, just like, looking back at them in their eyes doesn't work. Like, usually when you stare at somebody in the eyes looking at you, they look away. They would just smile even harder. They'd be like, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm just going to look this way. I'm just going to do that. I'm in line. Act like I don't see them. And eventually, one kid, who I can only assume was a ringleader, was just like, hey, where are you from? I'm from America. Like, and all of them were just like, yeah. and it was like they all were guessing where I'm from. And the guy who said, he's like, oh man, I thought it was Sri Lanka. I was like, Sri Lanka, really? No, I don't think so. And one guy was like, I said Somalia, which he was actually pretty close since I'm Ethiopian. My family's from Ethiopia. What I just started doing was just staring back and smiling back. Just like, they look at me in the eyes, I just look them back. It's like, hey. And just becoming more receptive to their approaches. And I started to notice, like, yeah, that just leads to more interaction. It's nice, actually. Like, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of. You might be uncomfortable by the stairs, but you start to realize it's just out of curiosity. They just want to know where you're from. They just want to have an interaction with somebody that's not from there. It's exciting. So as a tourist in India, your treatment and service will either be top-notch or you'll be upset with it. So, it's usually going to be top-notch because, like I said, they know you're not from there. They know you came with money, and they do expect tips. They expect, or at least they're hoping for it. And you should, because everything is so cheap. So you should tip well. At least I do. You do get special treatment at times though. Like they have these walk-up liquor stores where you can't walk inside. You have to get it. You have to stand outside, and there's just like a little window. People standing outside, right outside the window, and telling them, "Oh, I want this." Then they go from the back, get it. One time, in particular, it was flooded in front of that, but we needed our lick, man. We needed a drink. We tried to shimmy our way in there, but they don't care about lines. Like they just like, oh, I'm gonna get right there. So I'm just like, come on, man. I just want to get some lick. I just want to get a bottle. And the guy inside who was selling it, he was like, oh, man, they don't belong there. And he was just like, hey, look, just go under this door and come in the back, and you can actually pick out what you want, which is unfair to the people there, but I ain't tripping. I think not being from there, outside of the establishments, not being from there, everybody, like I said, they see opportunity when they see you, so I guess the part that it will get annoying, at least for me, is constantly being sold on something, like things that you don't want. Everybody wants to take you somewhere. Everybody wants to sell you something, and they're usually pretty pushy about it. And you're not mad at them because you're trying to make your money, but you're also just tired of it. Like, yeah, I don't feel like talking to you. I don't feel like saying no to somebody 5 times. So the one thing you have to know when going to India, outside of these historical sites that have prices listed, you have to negotiate for everything that you want, anything that you want to buy. If you want to ride, if you want to get some souvenirs off the street, you go into a store. If they don't have prices on things, you have to negotiate for every little thing that you want. And it does get old at times, but it also becomes pretty fun, like kind of like a competition. For instance, when I first got there, one of my friends bought the 6-pack of magnets for 200 rupees, which sounded like a steal at the time. I don't remember how much that is in dollars or euros, but it's not a lot. So, that's when we were just shopping with ourselves as foreigners. And then when we went shopping for wedding clothes, one of Ayush's friends, the groom's friends, Pallavi, she came with us. And she was just like, hey, I'm gonna show you guys how to shop, or like, make sure you guys don't get ripped off too much, show you where to go. And man, like the same pack of magnets, for instance, I saw them, I was like, I want those. And the guy said 200 rupees. I was like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. She paid it. She was like, you better not pay more than 50 for that. That's what Pallavi said. I was like, what? I thought that was disrespectful to like try to go down a quarter of the initial price. And I was like, I don't know. And she was just like, hold on. She turned to the guy, started speaking in Hindi for like 45 seconds. She turned back to me and was like, all right, give me 50 rupees. I was like, oh shit. I've been getting played this whole time. They gave money. And after that, things changed. Like, I was still probably getting overcharged, but I realized like, no matter how much you like something, you just got to be prepared to walk out. That's how you win negotiations, really. You gotta be prepared to lay it all out on the line, like just be like, all right, whatever, that's my final price. So after my friend Ayush showed us around New Delhi for a night, I felt relatively comfortable walking around, even without him. But I also know that I can be relatively clueless about safety in different places. I walk around solo in random places all the time. So perception is not always reality when it comes to safety and I. So there was one night after the wedding. It was, after midnight. We just had fun dancing all night. And I'm walking back to the hotel from the wedding venue with my 2 friends, the 2 Polish girls. And, we should have taken a cab. We should have called a cab. We should have got somebody from the wedding to drive us to the hotel. It was like a 15-minute walk, but like 3-minute drive or something. And we didn't. We decided, it's safe. Like, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. We can just walk. We're about 5 minutes into our walk, and this guy on a motorcycle rides by us. And it's okay, cool. He turns around, comes back, and, he gets off. He's like, hey, can I take a selfie with you guys? Like, and we've done that so many times with so many people at this point. It's not even weird. I mean, the weird part is that it's after midnight. The dude got off his bike and turned around to do so. But we're still, I think we said no the first couple times. So he's persistent. So we're like, whatever, cool, let's do it. He took a selfie, and that's it. He went on his way. And about, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes later, we kept walking, and the guy comes back on his bike, and behind him pulls up a van full of dudes, and they stop, and they're just like, hey, the guy on the motorcycle is like, hey, my friend, I think he says little cousin or little brother or something, wants to take a selfie with you too. We're just like, nah, man, we're waiting on our ride now. Like, we're about to go. Like, I don't know what we said, but we were just like, no. Because we don't know what's in that van. We don't know what's going on. And it's the middle of the night, and we're just like, So, there was really no escaping, because we're like halfway through from the wedding venue, halfway from the hotel. It's just us, like, dark. No other cars going by. It's just us. So we decided to, it's like, you know what? All right, just tell him to come out. We can take a selfie with him. And honestly, it was just this like teenage kid. He was really excited to take a selfie with us, and the guy who was on the motorcycle though, he was kind of overstepping. He was definitely overstepping. He took another selfie with one of the girls, and like he kissed her cheek when he did it, and she was just like, "No, guy, like you're upset. Like that's not cool. You don't just kiss people you don't know and take pictures of yourself doing it." And we were all a little upset, but at that point we weren't gonna do too much. We were just like, "Yo, don't do that. Just don't do that." I think he might have done it. Oh, he tried to do it again later. Like he's like, "Okay, one more picture." And he tried to do it again later. Unfortunately, they didn't have bad intentions, but if they did, it could have gone terribly wrong. Like I wouldn't be telling you this video right now. Who knows what would have happened. Overall, I felt like India was really safe, but you gotta be careful, especially if you're a female or you're with females. Like I think it's not so safe there. That's what I've heard, and from my experience, that's what I felt. I mean, I doubt that they would have wanted me to get in the van alone, like not just me. So learned a lot from that experience, and the rest of the trip, we definitely were a lot smarter about where we were and when we were. So, this is some food for thought. Definitely keep that in mind if you go travel to India, no matter what you look like, just, be safe. Anywhere you go, just be smart. Don't do anything stupid. Don't go out in the middle of the night in a random place that you don't know, where that's not in the center, it's not crowded. So the cost to visit India is where they make their big bucks, or the opposite. So the first thing to consider is that $1 or €1, I can't remember which one, is 75 rupees. So, I mean, you can get you pretty damn far for the value. Of course, $75 isn't the same as 75 rupees, but 75 rupees is a lot. I mean, it can get you pretty far. But for instance, 500 rupees, you can have a very nice meal with an appetizer and a drink for 500 rupees. That's like $6.50. That's $6.50. And you can take that same 500 and buy a really beautiful pashmina, super slick outfit at a market, and maybe even less if you know how to negotiate. For that same 500, you can get entrance into one of India's historical sites. The Red Fort, I'm pretty sure, was 500 rupees. So things like that, man. I mean, you can get really far with a lot of money, with little money. I'm pretty sure I took out, what was it, like 300 euros at the airport when first coming in, which was like 25,000 rupees. And, I balled the fuck out, spared no expense. And by the end of it, I mean, we got back to the airport to go back home. I still had some money to get last minute souvenirs at the airport, even though it's more expensive there. But so you can get pretty far with money. I mean, that's definitely one of the brightest spots about visiting India. So I knew that I was gonna love the food in India, but I didn't know just how many foodgasms I was gonna have. 12. I had 12. So living in the Netherlands, I end up missing very bold and spicy flavors a lot because Dutch food is very bland. Even the Ethiopian restaurants, or the places that should be spicy, they usually Dutchify it, which means they make it a little less flavorful, a little less bold and spicy. So I knew I was gonna really enjoy India for that because Indian food is so good. I'm just thinking about it right now. Oh, some butter chicken, masala. Oh God, I'm getting hungry. The thing is, I traveled with a friend who, she was actually like lactose intolerant and she couldn't take spicy foods at all. And cool thing was, all the restaurants, they have different options, and even the ones that didn't really, especially with the not having butter, because they mostly cook with butter, they were very accommodating to her, and they made things less spicy. And I think there was only one occasion where she had something that was just like, oh God, it's so spicy. The messed up thing is she enjoys like spicy foods and she enjoys dairies, but I kind of felt bad for her. But like I said, they were very accommodating to her. When you're planning your trip to India, don't fuck around and plan it in between April and July. if you're going to be in the major city parks, maybe in the mountains or something. But I mean, for clarity, it was, I remember like sometime in May, like after the trip, I checked and it was like 113 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but shit, my pits are starting to sweat just talking about it. I mean, that have the potential for, as hectic it is, to just be a nightmare trip for me if I got there in May, late May or something. You know, I'd probably just spend the whole trip in the AC. But with that being said, there are amazing times to visit India as far as the weather goes. Like I believe around like November through February, with an emphasis on February. That's when we were there, and the whole time it was just 75 and sunny. It was incredible. I mean, I couldn't say enough about the weather while we were there, especially coming from the Netherlands, where in February it's just gray and dreary and rainy and cold and windy. Going into that, man, it was like paradise. There's so many different means of transportation in India, which is cool, and reliable ones as well. Like Uber, I'd say, is the most reliable means of transportation. I mean, even intercity. Like we took a trip up from Uber from Jaipur to New Delhi. It was like a 5-hour trip by car, Uber, and it was the same price. Ended up being as it would have been if we took a train, which is crazy. Like when we split it 3 ways, we would have spent the same amount of money. And you know, it's crazy because you're getting the safety of Uber, you know, it being on an app and it's in a private car, just you and your friends, AC, you know, just chilling. And like it's kind of crazy that you can do that with Uber. Like who's willing to drive that far? A lot of people apparently. And Ola is another app actually, which it's pretty much the Indian Uber, and it's cheaper than Uber. But my favorite means of transportation by far is definitely tuk-tuks. Yes, tuk-tuks. They're just these little compact rickshaw cars, you know, no doors on them, and usually like this green and yellow color, 3 wheels, and usually in the back there's a space for the driver in the front, a little barrier, and then the back is like usually just a little bench seat where like 3 people can sit, and you can pack it as tight as they let you. Sometimes there's a little bigger one where like you can 2 bench seats. So I like those because of, you know, how elusive or agile they can be. You know, you can weave in and out of traffic. They're so small, and you can get to where you want a lot faster, even though it's more stressful because like there's really no barrier between you and the outside, and you're not like buckled in or anything. You're just sitting there, and the driving is hectic. Like there are no rules. They get as close to the next car as possible to overtake them. A lot of herky-jerky action, and there are no rules except the aggressor wins. Like whoever's the first to a spot wins, and they'll do it by any means. And honking is a way of life. So much honking, it gets exhausting. It really is. So tuk-tuks can be exhausting, especially if it's high traffic hour. Trains are also a good way of traveling intercity, but within a city, going from like one stop to the next, we tried that once and really didn't like it. Like it was mostly because people were just staring at us. It was pretty crowded. It was really crowded. We were standing like everybody shoulder to shoulder, but everybody was staring at us, and that's when I really noticed how people stare at the 2 girls differently than stare at me. Like they were just like. So I was like, all right, they were definitely like way too uncomfortable to try it again. So considering the city's demographics, the safety, the cost to visit, the people, the great, amazing people, so warm and caring, and the food and the weather, transportation, India got an amazing 4 out of 5 Fros on the Fro rating scale. And I can't stress enough, I know I just said it, but the people are so warm and inviting and caring. And even though you got a lot of stares that made you uncomfortable, like once you start talking to them, you're like, oh, hey, this is nice. These people, they just want to know, they just want to talk to you, and it's really nice. So I'd suggest to anybody. I mean, like I said, I barely scratched the surface of what India has to offer, and I can't wait to go back. And I'd recommend to anybody to go visit. And if you want to roll solo, I'd suggest if you haven't been to a country like that, it might be a little overwhelming. So I'd say, try to do travel groups, book tours, and at least for the first leg of the trip so you can get the feel for it, get drivers wherever you go. And you'll be safe. I mean, I know people that go solo all the time, and they know the terrain, or they just are comfortable with adapting to different environments. So India's a beautiful place, very historical, so much culture, rich in diversity, and like I said, I suggest anybody to go, regardless of what you look like. So I hope you guys learned a lot today, or learned something at all, found it helpful. If you did, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. Got to keep this thing moving forward. Leave a comment. I'd like to know what your trip to India was like, if you have any other questions. And other than that, man, we're going to keep it moving. I'm going to see y'all in the next one, y'all. All right, peace. Stay tripping.